What's up guys, it's Mike Thurston here, and in today's video I'm going to walk you through the biggest mistakes which I have made with my nutrition over the years that I've been training. Now, I got into this when I was about 17, 18 years old, so I'm like 8, 9 years into this and I've made a hell of a lot of mistakes. I'm sure a lot of other people have them as well. The goal of this video is to outline them and to try and make sure that you don't make the same mistakes which I did, okay? So, I've got the help of my trusty board, which I got recently, and I'm going to take you through each step one by one. So the first one is not tracking calories or macros. Now, when I started training, I pretty much ate whatever the hell I wanted to eat. I had no idea about nutrition. I wasn't tracking a goddamn thing. I was making progress, but it was very slow progress. The rate of progress could have been sped up a hell of a lot more if I was just aware of the types of food which I was eating. So I had no idea how much protein I was consuming. I didn't know the importance of carbs, of fats, of the quality of food which I was consuming. I had no idea. And I think one of the biggest problems I remember when I was at university, I was stuck at 88 kilograms. I was like, why the hell am I not getting any heavier? Like what? I cannot grow, what's going on? And obviously the biggest factor behind that was I simply just wasn't eating enough to allow for myself to be in a calorie surplus, to allow for muscle growth to occur. And you know, I probably wasn't eating enough protein as well, so track. Mistake number two, which I made, was generally just under-consuming whenever I would begin a kind of cutting phase, whether it be for a holiday or a photo shoot or just generally wanting to get shredded. I would go from a phase of not really tracking my calories to all of a sudden being like, boom, right, okay, I'm gonna have 2,200 calories a day or 2,000 calories a day. And I would massively just drop them where it was completely unnecessary. And although, yes, I would see results in the short run, it didn't give me results in the long run. And not to mention, I felt like because of those drastically low calories which I was consuming, I had no energy. I hated working out, I generally felt miserable, and when it came to the point where fat loss stalled, there wasn't much more I could do to promote further fat loss because there was no chance I was going to drop calories even further. All I could do was increase cardio. So you're at a point where you're consuming pretty low calories, you're doing cardio every single day, and it's just, you're not really getting anywhere. So number three, again, this is to do with cutting. I used to think that in order to cut, in order to successfully lose body fat, you had to drop carbohydrates. The carbs were the enemy, but obviously I know now that is not the case. The most important thing you need to bear in mind is just your overall calorie intake. That is the number one thing you have to prioritize. Then you can start tweaking levels of fat and carb intake. But the mistake I would always make was I would do this maybe for like 4, 5 days in a row. It would be some kind of form of carb cycling. I would drop my carbs right down to, you know, around 100 grams or less on a training day. And unsurprisingly, after doing a few days of this, I had no energy. My pump was non-existent. I felt terrible. My strength went down. It wasn't sustainable, and it usually led me to having a very unhealthy relationship with food. Okay, having no carbohydrates. I had cravings for everything, and when it came to having a high carb day, I would just go wild. I'd be like, and then, you know, I would overconsume on the higher carb days, and it was not working. So carbs aren't the enemy. Number four, overconsuming at weekends. Now, if any of you know me well, or if you've had the pleasure to dine with me, you'll know that I like to eat, and when I eat big. Now the problem was, I would go through this cycle, I did this for years, where Monday to Friday my nutrition would be on point, you know, everything would be measured out. I'd almost replace myself in a deficit throughout the week. And I would look great on a Friday, my body composition was spot on. And then Friday night, Saturday and Sunday would be an all-out binge fest. I'd just have no tracking of my macros. I'd go out, I'd eat when I was in, you know, probably on a daily basis, Saturday, Sunday, I was probably having more than 5,000 calories. And when it came to Monday morning, I'd wake up and I'd just be like, oh my God, like I looked so different compared to how I did on the Friday evening after that successful week. And I would go through this cycle where I would make progress through the week, and then I would undo it all by binging at the weekend, make progress, and then undo it all. And the thing is, I used to love overeating at the weekend, so I would go through a phase, you know, like I said before, I would go very low carb throughout the week. You know, carbs would be like 100 to 200 grams max. So I wasn't really growing whatsoever throughout the week, I was always cutting. And then on a weekend, over-consuming, having way too many calories than needed, feeling uncomfortable, bloated, just feeling grim. And then when it comes to Monday, I just felt terrible from the weekend of binging, and I had to start off from the beginning again, so no progress was being made. Number 5, being completely unaware of foods which don't agree with me. Now, this is going to be quite common for a lot of people out there. Everyone or a lot of people will have some form of intolerance to certain foods, but most people just don't know or are completely unaware about it. I was, for a large portion of my training career, I would eat loads of foods and never really question how they made me feel. So, in my example, my body just generally doesn't agree with dairy. And maybe it wasn't as much of an issue as I was younger, but as you get older, I'm turning 27 soon, your body becomes more sensitive to certain types of food, okay? You've got to look after your digestive system. Now, when I was eating a lot of foods which are very high in dairy, I would often feel pretty sluggish afterwards. I'd often have an uncomfortable stomach, I'd be bloated, and I might even need to go to the toilet, you know? It was that bad. I was pretty sensitive at one point. And this was just purely from over-consuming dairy. And when it comes to improving your body composition and improving your health, you need to really stay away from the foods which are not agreeing with you. You need to have an awareness of the foods which make you feel good and other foods which don't. You have to track how you respond to them, okay? And if you are, if you can't do that for yourself, then I would highly recommend you take a food intolerance test. That's what I did. I found out that, I did, it was York Laboratories or something, did a blood sample, took it off they sent it to Amsterdam, came back and it said, everything was fine, apart from I had a reaction to cow's milk. So it didn't mean I, should stay away from cow's milk forever. But what I did was, for 6 months, I kept the dairy intake very, very low. I wasn't having milk. I actually came off the protein shakes for a while because whey protein is the waste product of the manufacturing of cheese, I believe. So I've got a lot of dairy in. And then after 6 months, I would gradually kind of reintroduce it into my diet. And I did find that it kind of, I can have it now, okay? I've had a little bit of a break from it. My body can deal with dairy. But, I don't take the piss. Like, I don't sit there and eat a block of cheese and butter and have a drink of milk, because my body's just gonna go, like, it's gonna punish me for it, okay? And this is probably gonna continue as I get older. When I get to my 30s and my 40s, my digestive system's gonna be more sensitive. So I have to be very aware, be careful of the foods which I am consuming. Number 6, again, another cutting problem which I was making in the past, was I would go on these really aggressive cuts purely because I didn't plan ahead, okay? If you want to have the best body composition, you want to have the highest level of muscle mass and the lowest level of body fat, you need to do it, you need to go through the cutting process over a long period of time, okay? You can't give yourself a week or 2 weeks to drastically try and change your body. The amount of times where I'd have a last minute photo shoot, or simply because I just work better under pressure. So if I knew I had, like, for my competition, if I knew my competition was 8 weeks away, I'd be like, that's nothing. I'll just, I'll worry about that when I get to 4 weeks. And then it would come to 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'd be like, oh shit, like, I've got too much body fat. Like, I've left it last minute again. So I would have to, like, ramp up the cardio on a daily basis, cut my calories too much, to the point where, yes, I could get to the levels of leanness which I wanted, but at the cost of sacrificing muscle mass, okay? And you don't want to lose muscle mass. So guys, there you have it. They are some of the biggest mistakes which I've made in terms of my nutrition over the past 8-9 years of me doing this whole fitness thing. Now, what I want you guys to bear in mind is, please just don't make the same mistakes which I've done, because they will hold you back from achieving your goals, and also from just a general health and well-being point of view, okay? Look after your body, because if you look after your body, it will look after you and you'll look better. So, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out my Snapchat, Instagram and Facebook pages below. All the links are down in the comment section. And if you do have any questions regarding your own nutrition, just drop a comment below and I'll do my best to try and get back to you. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.